Celebrate. They have done it.
Hi everyone, welcome back to Mbeumo YouTube channel. It's Chris back with the rumour has it video. The transfer window was about to open at the start of June due this extended day, the 1st to the 10th of June, then reopens again on the 16th to the end of September, the start of September. It's all a bit confusing, but what isn't confusing is it sounds like despite all of the hoopla with Paul Mitchell and Newcastle United are about to go early and get some really good deals done. And the two players I'm about to talk about are absolutely class. So we'll get stuck into this in a minute. Before we do, a little reminder, if you're just checking us out for the first time, hello, thank you very much for clicking that button. Why not smash subscribe, hang around a little bit longer, keep it ever more. We're getting close to 10,500 subscribers, then on to 11,000. Loads of stuff for you over the summer, loads of transfer links, opinion videos before the football returns, which will be here before we know it. And Champions League is on the cards as well. So let's get stuck in. What am I talking about today? Well, we've all seen it doing the rounds. There was an article that came out in the Telegraph from Luke Edwards, who hasn't always been my favourite reporter, I must admit. And sometimes Luke does get things a little bit wrong. But I hope he's bang on with this one, because apparently, despite all of the noise around Paul Mitchell, apparently the club knew about for months before the news broke. So that fills me full of confidence. As I said in the video the other day, Newcastle United could very well be closing in on two early targets, and their names are Bryan and Mbeumo and Marc Guehi. Now, we've talked about them before, but these two players, what would they bring to this Newcastle United squad? We all know what they'll bring. First and foremost, they bring Premier League experience. Then they bring quality as well. We're going to look at the stats on the super duper computer in a second, but the Bryan and Mbeumo one for me, I'm going to kick off with that straight away. This guy, I've wanted this guy for ages. I think most of us have as well. He's a long-term target for Newcastle United. He's been talked about for ages. I'm amazed we didn't go from last summer, to be brutally honest with you, but maybe Brentford weren't in a position to sell. But it sounded like quoting all the media outlets and gobshite content creators that Bryan and Mbeumo looked like he was going to Manchester United. But Manchester United are trying to pay on fucking installments for Cunha. Wolves have just put them against the wall with it, and they're going to spend all their money on Cunha, which is a weird one. And people are upset that Cunha didn't come to Newcastle. I'm not overly bothered, to be honest with you. He's a good player, but I think he's hard work, and I don't think he's an Eddie Howe type character. I think he's a bit of a dick, and I think he would fail the no dickhead policy. So I think there's no loss there for me in that particular transfer. So Manchester United may crow about it, even though they've just got beat by Malaysian All-Stars and an open top bus for being 16th in the Premier League. My days, you can't take the piss out of anybody, by the way. But Bryan and Mbeumo, I hope, and the stories are going around that he wants Champions League football. He thinks he's ready for that step up, and Newcastle United can give him that. And it looks like Newcastle could be in the driving seat. According to the article from Luke Edwards, just getting stuck in to this one before we look at the stats. So he's been a long-term target of the football club. And one of the best parts of the piece is a club insider turned around and said that apparently everything is in place. All the work that's been done in the players has been finished, and we now have to push the button to get those deals done. We know who we want. Now, that, I think, plays into the fact that Eddie Howe has been stronger on his stance about the transfers that he wants. Apparently, Mitchell fucked up the Guehi deal in the summer and didn't have a plan B as well. That's all come out in the wash now. All these people who have the I Love Mitchell T-shirts on think these are best things in sliced bread. It's all starting to come out that maybe he didn't quite do what he said he was going to do, you know? And sometimes people do that. They blag their way into jobs and they don't quite deliver. Now, Mitchell's got pedigree and a great CV, no doubt about that, but he didn't get the job done for signing Marc Guehi. Didn't really matter for us because we're in Champions League, but we are going to revisit that one. I'll talk about Guehi in a second there. But yeah, all the media have been trying to push Mbuemo to Manchester United. I just don't think that's going to happen. I think they're going to blow their load on Matheus Cunha. You know, they're talking about 62 million quid, I think it is, for Cunha. And I just don't think that is going to be, Manchester United are not going to be able to go and pull 50 million quid out to sign Mbuemo because they're going to have to sell a player. And who wants those bags of shit? You know, the only ones who are probably sellable is probably Kobbie Mainoo, which I think they'll be trying to hawk out to the highest bidder. Now, Kobbie Mainoo is a good player, but Manchester United would do better with keeping Kobbie Mainoo than anything else. But apparently the release cost from Mbuemo was 50 million quid. Brentford may want 50 or 60 million quid, but I say fucking pay the bill. The lad is quality. We know what he's all about. He brings pace. He scores goals. He assists. He can fill in at centre forward. He's excellent on the right-hand side. His work rate is second to none. Let's have a look at his stats and just see how he compares to the per 90. Look at his stats for the Premier League this season. 38 appearances, 20 goals, 7 assists. I mean, that's shit hot form. It really, really is. He's been, in terms of his whole career, 281 appearances between his two clubs, 69 goals and 47 assists. This lad is absolutely quality. There is no doubt about it at all. Looking at his stats per 90, his goal ratio per 90, he's in the 94th percentile. I mean, that's absolutely class. Bringing goals to the midfield and to the front three. Jacob Murphy's had a brilliant season, ain't no doubt about that. I'm not going to slag off Jacob Murphy, but this lad is a level above. His XG is in the 73rd percentile, goals to shot ratio 92, shots at 41, shot on target at 55. So just take a lot of shots, and sometimes shots don't quite go on target, but that doesn't matter to me. His expected assists are up in the 77th percentile. His touches in the area aren't particularly great. Progressive carries aren't too bad. He's kind of halfway there. Carries into the area 75%. Tackles and recoveries are decent for a winger as well. If you look how he compares on the radar grid to Jacob Murphy. So Jacob Murphy outscores him on assists, just marginally on pass completion, goal creation chances and interceptions. But if you're looking at goals, shots, tackles, shot creation chances and key passes, Bryan Mbeumo outscores Jacob Murphy. At 25 years old, he's coming to the peak of his powers, and what a brilliant bit of depth would have there for that right-hand side. Would have Bryan Mbeumo starting as a right winger, and you've got Jacob Murphy to come in as well, and you can rotate those two players through a long, hard, grueling season. He's on 45 grand a week at Brentford at the minute. No doubt he's doing more than that at Newcastle United. And end of June 2026 is when his contract expires. So, Brentford wouldn't be able to get as much probably as they would want from him if a 5-year contract was on the cards for him there. But the fact that there's only a year left on his contract, I think we'll get him for that release clause, hopefully, of around about 50 million quid. And this kid is a game-changing signing to me, an absolutely game-changing signing. The fact that he can play through the middle as well, it looks like Liam Delap potentially maybe choosing Chelsea. Now, it's a weird one for me that I kind of get it, in terms of he'll probably back himself to start over Nicholas Jackson as opposed to starting over Alexander Isak. Manchester United have got no European football and they're a little bit of a mess at the minute. So I kind of understand why he wouldn't go there. Plus, he's got the City links as well. Will he be able to go back to City if he does well at Chelsea? I don't know. Cole Palmer's there, his ex-teammate from the youth academy, all that kind of stuff. So a lot of that will play into Liam Delap's mindset as well. But that number 9 shirt Chelsea is a poison chalice, man. It's like a fucking Horcrux from Harry Potter. So I wouldn't go anywhere near that shit if I was a young striker. But he'll make his mind up and he'll go where he'll go. But if we get someone like Bryan Mbeumo, I still think we should get a centre forward, by the way. With people like Jonathan David on a free kicking around, Newcastle could still do some good business. Callum Wilson's emotional goodbye today tells me that he's not staying. This new enhanced contract or incentivised contract that he was going to be offered, I don't think carries much weight for me, and I think he'll be gone. We'll get a new centre forward, whoever that may be. But Jonathan David on a free transfer would be a brilliant bit of business from the club. If you can get someone like Mbuemo who can fill in at centre forward. Can he fill at centre half? He's that good. He can play everywhere. Fill in at centre forward, he's a much better option than Anthony Gordon through the middle, who isn't particularly good. But I still have a doubt about Anthony Gordon's future, which we'll cover in a future video as well. But yeah, Mbuemo for me is the star signing. That's the one I'd love straight away. And if these stories are to be believed, then hopefully we will get it. And all these little media outlets who started to report about Manchester United being in the driving seat from Mbuemo are all starting to now say Newcastle are the favourites, Newcastle are the favourites. So all starting to come out in a wash now. So hopefully Newcastle tie this deal up quick, because this lad will be fucking class for Newcastle. So moving on to the second target. And this one worries me a little bit, not because of the player and his quality, because of the situation that happened last summer, and certainly with that gobshite waxwork that is chairman Steve Parish. I'm talking about Marc Guehi, 24-year-old centre-half, FA Cup winning captain for Crystal Palace this season. What a season he's had for Crystal Palace in terms of winning their first ever trophy. It started a bit ropey for him because he was heavily linked to Newcastle in the summer. We know how many bids. It was back and forth and back and forth. I think Palace ended up wanting 70 million quid for Guehi, which was absolutely ridiculous. And realistically, this summer, they're probably only going to get, I reckon, 40, 45 million quid maximum, because his contract expires at the end of June next year. And I don't think they're going to be in a position, much like Mbuemo, where they can push too hard for that deal. But unlike Crystal Palace, Brentford are a selling club. Thomas Frank said that. So they'll probably do the deal a lot more easy than Parish would be. Parish was even lipping off about sovereign state-owned clubs of the day. Never mind the fact we haven't been able to buy anyone for 3 fucking windows, and Chelsea sell a hotel to himself, can buy everybody. Manchester United are in the shit and can spend 62 million quid on Cunha, but it's people like us that are the problem, Parish. Okay, dickhead. I wish people would stop giving this knob a microphone. But going back to the Guehi deal, I think Marc Guehi wanted this deal in the summer. I think his mind was made up. He wanted to come to Newcastle. He wanted to play, probably in his mind. No disrespect to Palace, have just won a cup, and I do like Palace as a club, but Newcastle United right now is a step above in terms of the next level up. We're in the Champions League. We're pushing for those top 4 places. We're only 2, 3, 4 signings away, I think, from genuinely mounting a title challenge. I'm not saying we're going to win the title, but I think we'll definitely be pushing for those teams in the round that could win it at the start of the year. So I think Guehi wants this deal. You can see there in terms of his appearances. So this season, 34 appearances, 3 goals and 2 assists. 2 own goals for us, by the way, as well, Mark, which is great. So he's already got 2 goals for us. Sorry about that, mate. I had to get that one in. But he's had 3 clubs in his career in total, 211 appearances, 8 goals and 4 assists. So as a defender, he can pop up and can be dangerous in the opposition box, as well as being very good in his other box as well. But the best part about Marc Guehi is he can play right-sided centre-half or left-sided centre-half. And I think that makes him even more appealing to Newcastle. Never mind the fact that he's clearly a guy Eddie Howe wants to sign. He's got pace. He's got great positional sense. He's a leader as well. He's a captain of his football club. And that's exactly the type of player that Eddie Howe wants to have at Newcastle United. He wants those leaders in that group. He wants to be able to rely on these players, have the right mentality, which I think is why someone like Cunha wouldn't have been a good idea for us anyway. Someone like Guehi 100% ticks those boxes for us. And in terms of the stats, as you can see there, it's across the top 5 leagues in Europe over the last year. 73rd percentile for tackles 165th percentile. Not bad, given the fact that Palace were struggling a lot earlier on in the season. Interceptions, 21 percentile. He's not great at interceptions, but tackling and blocks, he's very good at. Clearances kind of halfway. Passes, progressive passes, though, he's a very decent centre-half. He likes to pass it up the pitch to the players like Seveze and people like that to make things happen. Key passes, 90th percentile, and passes in the final third. This lad is a very much a modern-day centre-half in terms of starting play from the back, looking for those killer passes, and that's only going to help us because Schär is getting older, unfortunately. We've seen both sides of Fabian Schär this season. First half of the season, I was calling him Fabian Scare. His touch was heavy, his passes were lackadaisical, he was getting caught out of position, his pace looked off. Towards the back end of the season, he started to come back to the Fabian Schär that we all kind of knew and loved, but I definitely think we need a long-term replacement for him, and this lad could easily be that player for me. You can see their errors very small in terms of errors, doesn't get dispossessed a lot either. Fouls and recoveries, very good statistics. And how he compares next to Fabian Schär, who, bear in mind, is 10 years older than Marc Guehi. So before anyone starts going, oh, no, don't need him, we've got Schär, he's 10 years older, guys. We'll have to have a contingency plan here to replace these players. You can see how he compares in the radar grid. Blocks, clearances, aerials, 1, true tackles, Mark's favourite stat, tackles, progressive carries, and progressive passing. He's way ahead of Fabian Schär. Pass completion, interceptions, Fabian Schär is a little bit ahead of Marc Guehi because maybe those 10 years of experience allows him to position himself a little bit better as a centre-half. You get a bit more kind of wise in the game, and that's probably why the interceptions are a bit better for Fabian Schär. But that's somebody that Marc Guehi could learn from. There is no doubt about that. As a centre-half, a young centre-half, Fabian Schär's played in World Cups, he's played in La Liga, he's played in Champions League, he's won a trophy as well. So Fabian Schär is a great guy to learn your trade from, day to day in training. And if we can have a centre-back pairing of Sven Botman, if he can stay fit, Marc Guehi on the right-hand side, and underneath them, you've got Fabian Schär and Dan Burn. And that's great depth in centre-half, no doubt about it. And on either side, you've got Tino Livramento and Lewis Hall, who, by the way, were worth every fucking penny, Paul Mitchell, you gobshite. But going back to the 2 main names in this, Guehi, I think, will be an excellent signing for the club, but I just worry about Parish and his silly bollocks. I hope that he doesn't do that this time around, and that maybe this deal is already been agreed in principle, and Guehi's already said, listen, I've won the cup, leave on a massive high with Palace fans. They'll have good memories of me, and I can move on to Newcastle and play Champions League next season as well. But Bryan and Mbeumo, definitely, that's the number 1 for me. I hope we get that deal done this summer. But apparently these 2 are our top 2 targets. And if we can get them done early in this first little mini window of the first to the 10th of June. Wow, Newcastle will be in a great shape going into next season already. 2 down, 2 to go, arguably, in terms of the goalkeeper, which all these links to Juan Garcia are going around. Whether we believe them or not, we've been down this garden path before with Mamardashvili, and that didn't happen, but hopefully that is going to happen. And then you're only maybe looking at another midfielder, then there's your 4 signings in early doors, and you're ready to rock and roll for next season. But let us know in the comments below what you think about Mbuemo and Marc Guehi as our top 2 targets. Do you believe this story from Luke Edwards, or do you think it's all just smoke and mirrors? And obviously with them 2 players, are you happy with them 2 players? Or if not, who would you want to sign? Let us know in the comments below. We always like to hear from you. Drop a like as well. Help the channel grow. Subscribe if you want to. Keep it evermore. There'll be loads of transfer banter over the summer. And if Newcastle go early with these deals, we will be back talking about how mint these players are going to be fitting in to the Newcastle United squad, and also talking about departures, which I'm sure there's going to be a few of this window, and maybe even a high profile one. But more on that when that news breaks. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a belt wherever you are. We'll see you later. Cheers.
Heroes celebrate. They have done it.